Hi, I'm Jim Snider with Metabolic Elite. In today's whiteboard session, we're going to talk about the concept of reverse paradigm eating, which basically is taking the way that the standard American diet eats and basically flipping it on its head. So taking your steak and your salmon that you've had for dinner, moving that to the morning, and then taking your omelets, eggs, oats, and moving that to the evening to capitalize on these concepts. The four concepts that we're going to go through today, well, I'll explain it here as we go. The first one, and probably the most important one to understand, is the diurnal cortisol curve, meaning that your cortisol, as you awake, becomes the highest in the morning, and then throughout the day, it starts to flatten out if you have a proper cortisol curve. What that means is, obviously we know cortisol is increased in the morning. So if that is the case, then our insulin sensitivity is reduced, meaning our ability to utilize carbohydrates is dampened a bit. So that's a really important reason why we would want to increase our proteins and our fats in the morning to kind of coincide with the reduced insulin sensitivity. Second concept being higher stomach acid, gastric juices, and HCl in the morning due to it becoming a fasted state as you're sleeping overnight. Another thing is you have less stress when you wake up in the morning than you would throughout the day. And so we want to put our harder to digest foods, i.e. proteins and fats, in the morning when the highest concentration of the stomach acid is available to break those foods down. Another concept comes from the concept of TCM medicine, is basically your stomach meridian is highest and most active from 7 to 9 a.m. is when you should have your most nutritious foods in your stomach, i.e. proteins and fats. And again, throughout the stress of the day, people are bombarded by their phone ringing, text messages, blue lights, increasing the stress of the symptoms. So bringing you from more of a parasympathetic state to more of a sympathetic state. And with that means a decrease in the amount of stomach acid and HCl as the day goes. So as the day goes, we want to have our easier to digest foods as we go. So then you would put in some of your carbohydrates. And then if you wanted to have your proteins, you would go more towards your white fish, eggs, things of that nature that are easier for the body to digest because of the stress of the day, decreasing stomach acid availability. Thirdly, which for this time of year is really important, everybody wants to start dieting, trimming up, and looking good for the summertime. The third concept that's really important to understand about reverse paradigm eating is the thermogenic effect of food. Basically meaning that you want to increase your thermogenesis in the morning as soon as you can to increase that caloric burning effect. How do you do that? Proteins, okay? Protein has about a 25, the literature will say 25 to 30% increase in thermic effect of food versus your carbohydrates, which is about a 6 to 8%. So the standard American diet, typically people wake up, have a bagel and some jelly or a bowl of cereal. Again, you're missing the window of that thermic effect of food, really trying to increase that. So what I like to do is put people on a high protein, high fat diet in the morning to increase that thermic effect of food and increasing the caloric expenditure, which we know is important. Obviously, the nutrients that go in along with the caloric expenditure is really important for body composition and fat loss. Lastly, fourth concept is understanding the concept of neurotransmitters. So we want to eat foods that are more of our uppers, our dopamine, our tyrosine, and specifically tyrosine foods to increase your dopamine and your uppers throughout the day to get your day started the right way. How is that done? Typically by proteins, can be red meats. They have a higher concentration of tyrosine to help get the body going as we go. And then contrary to that are your serotonins or your downers, right? So an easy one for people to think about is like tryptophan after you eat your turkey. So we want to have more of our serotonin inducing foods later in the evening to allow, number one, they're easier for the body to digest, but more importantly, they're also dampening the nervous system as we go, and we're increasing more of our serotonin effects, which is a precursor to melatonin to help you go to sleep. So what foods are those? Obviously, like I just stated, carbohydrates, oats, eggs, higher foods, and tryptophan, increasing the serotonin production to help you go to sleep. If you like this concept, there's much more on it. If you go to the Metabolic Elite website and look at the Elite Minds workshop where I go into a little bit more detail on these concepts. Thank you.